When someone asks you to picture a neighboring country, what instantly pops into your head? You probably imagine a thick line drawn on a map, a towering border fence, or maybe thousands of miles of shared land, right? It's the traditional textbook way we look at geography. But what if I told you that definition is leaving out half the story? What if some of our most vital, most deeply connected neighbors don't actually share a single inch of dirt with us?
Okay, let's dive into this. While we kind of obsess over land borders, India has always been fundamentally a maritime nation. I mean, it's an incredible peninsula surrounded by the sea on three sides. The ocean isn't some massive barrier that cuts the country off from the rest of the world. It's a fluid, high-speed highway. Actually, fun fact here, the very word navigation is derived from the ancient Sanskrit word navgati. So India's intimate relationship with the ocean, it's literally baked right into the language of the sea.
Zooming out to a high-altitude view, the proof is really right there, in the currents and historical trade routes. Notice how these intricate oceanic pathways act as vital, unbreakable links. Suddenly, nations like Oman, Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, and Indonesia aren't just far-off places separated by vast waters. Not at all. They are intimately connected to India. Together, they form this vast, dynamic maritime neighborhood, where the water actually joins them rather than divides them.
And that brings us to the core of today's explainer, Geography as Destiny, India's maritime neighborhood. We're going to completely shift our perspective from basic, static map reading to understanding true geopolitical destiny. We'll explore India's totally unique role as a maritime power and uncover exactly how these vital ocean networks dictate the survival, economic prosperity, and absolute stability of the entire region.
Here is our roadmap for the explainer. We're covering 1. Redefining India's neighborhood. 2. The Indian Ocean Trade Engine. 3. Centuries of maritime trade. 4. The trusted first responder. And 5. Securing regional ocean stability.
Section 1. The Indian Ocean Trade Engine, fueling global commerce.
So to truly understand India's geopolitical destiny, we have to take a macro view of the water that surrounds it. This isn't just a scenic body of water, folks. It is an absolute heavyweight champion of global economics. India boasts a massive coastline of approximately 11,100 kilometers. Think about that sheer scale. Because of its unique peninsular shape, India is physically thrust deep into the Indian Ocean, essentially acting as a giant gateway. This geography guarantees India a front-row seat right in the middle of some of the most critical sea routes on the planet. It bridges Southeast Asia and Africa, basically acting as the vital fulcrum where raw materials flowing one way meet finished goods flowing the other.
Now, what is truly staggering here is the sheer volume. The Indian Ocean handles 50% of the world's container ships, a third of all bulk cargo, and a massive 66%, literally two-thirds, of the world's oil. Let that sink in for a second. These waters fuel the modern world, connecting around 2.7 billion people. When you have this much global commerce reliant on one single ocean, regional stability isn't just some abstract political talking point. It's an absolute necessity for the entire world to keep functioning.
Managing an economic engine of that magnitude requires active regionalism. And regionalism is simply defined as working together across borders to create peace, stability, and shared progress for the benefit of everyone in the region. For you and me, regionalism is the invisible force that ensures our global supply chains don't just break down and that the everyday products and energy we rely on actually make it to our shores. India's central, inescapable position makes her an absolutely crucial pillar for this. Being a good neighbor here means collaborating to keep those massive trade routes open, peaceful, and prosperous for everyone involved.
Section 2. Centuries of maritime trade, deep historical roots. Now, these massive trade networks, they're definitely not a byproduct of modern globalization. We can actually see how this builds out over millennia. During the Bronze Age, Harappan traders from the ancient Indus civilization were already masterfully sailing to Oman to trade for copper. By the 3rd century BCE, Indian traders were navigating the unpredictable monsoon winds to bring highly sought-after spices and vibrant textiles over to Thailand. And jumping closer to today, India was one of the very first countries to officially recognize an independent Maldives back in 1965. The ocean has always been the fundamental medium forging these deep, unbreakable bonds.
But it wasn't just physical goods being traded across these waves. It was knowledge, philosophy, and culture. The cultural imprint left behind is profound. Take the ancient Indonesian Muara Jambi temple complex, for example. Over 2,000 years ago, there were active, thriving academic and spiritual collaborations between India's legendary Nalanda University and this specific site in Indonesia. Scholars would cross the ocean to study,
meaning the exchange of revolutionary ideas flowed just as freely as the ocean currents themselves.
In fact, early Indian traders who bravely sailed these unpredictable waters seeking precious resources in places like Java, Sumatra, and Malaya had a very specific reverent name for this region. They called it Suvarnabhumi or Suvarnadvipa. When translated, this beautifully means the Golden Land or Golden Island. It just goes to show that the immense, undeniable value of these maritime neighbors hasn't just been a modern discovery. It's been clearly recognized and deeply respected for thousands of years.
Section 3. The Trusted First Responder. Geography as a Lifeline.
When you share these vast waters, you don't just share wealth and culture. You also share a huge vulnerability to the forces of nature. So how exactly does geography dictate survival when sudden disaster strikes? Well, because India is physically thrust so deeply into the ocean, it possesses a massive logistical advantage. Look at these two catastrophic events. During the devastating 2004 tsunami and the severe 2014 water crisis in Malé, the capital of the Maldives, India was able to quickly mobilize its vast naval capabilities. It doesn't take weeks for India to mobilize life-saving aid across the region. It takes hours. That central geography inherently allows India to act as the region's trusted, rapid first responder.
After the staggering tragedy of 2004, the need for a unified defense against natural disasters became incredibly clear, which led to the creation of the Indian Tsunami Early Warning Center. Let's walk through how this institutionalized lifeline works. First, highly sensitive sensors are anchored directly to the ocean floor to detect sudden seismic shifts. Second, those sensors bounce data through immediate satellite communication links. Finally, regional alerts are instantly broadcasted from the center in Hyderabad. Now, when an earthquake strikes the deep ocean floor, this integrated system sends out immediate warnings, protecting multiple Indian Ocean countries simultaneously. It's a perfect example of shared geography driving shared survival.
Section 4. Securing regional ocean stability. Modern alliances.
If the ocean is the boundless source of trade, deep history, and life-saving aid, it inevitably also brings shared, complex threats that require robust, modern alliances to manage. Today, large coastal nations across this maritime neighborhood, like India and Indonesia, face a formidable web of shared concerns. We're talking about actively combating modern piracy, mitigating the harsh, unpredictable realities of climate change, and ensuring the absolute protection of those critical sea lanes we discussed earlier. These aren't just abstract ideas. They are active, daily threats to global security. You simply cannot secure a massive ocean alone. It demands close, unbreakable strategic partnerships.
A prime, fascinating example of this modern strategic partnership is Oman. Remember the Bronze Age copper trade from our timeline earlier? Well, thousands of years later, Oman stands as India's closest defense partner in the entire Gulf region. In fact, it's the very first Gulf nation where India actively holds joint military exercises that encompass all three armed forces: the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force, all working in perfect sync. They actively train, coordinate, and patrol together to ensure absolute maritime security in the Western Indian Ocean. Its history and modern security completely intertwined.
And really, it all comes down to this core philosophy. Being good neighbors is not just about borders, but also about working together for the benefit of everyone in the region. Throughout our journey today, we've seen how the Indian Ocean is far from just empty space on a map. It is a bustling, shared, and deeply interconnected community. From ancient brave traders seeking out the Golden Land, to modern, highly advanced navies securing vital oil routes, and high-tech early warning systems saving countless lives across the shores.
I'm going to leave you with this provocative thought. As global trade inevitably shifts, expands, and evolves in the 21st century, the world's absolute reliance on the Indian Ocean is only going to intensify. So, how will this crucial, heavily trafficked stretch of water continue to reshape our very definition of what it means to be a neighbor? Will physical distance matter at all when our economic survival and our daily lives are so inextricably linked by the sea? Think about it. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I seriously hope you never look at a map the exact same way again.